Nazem Kadri, I mean, there are people out there who don't like anything that has to do with anything physical. And don't you worry, the Leafs are not in the top 10 and taking penalties, and they're not the biggest team in the league. They don't hit too many. So, yeah, if you're looking for just skill and finesse and not a lot of the rough stuff, the Leafs are producing for you. However, Nazem Kadri is kind of a guy who can play the skill speed game, but also mix it up too. How essential, Mike, do you think Nazem Kadri is to this team? The guy he serves the purpose of the overall general team dynamic, but he brings something extra that no one else does.
Well, I think the idea of them trading Kadri or any kind of transaction involving Kadri is never going to happen. And remember a few years ago when he was sort of inconsistent defensively, inept at times. I was all for saying, okay, let's get a change of scenery here. He's clearly not going to work here. Babcock comes in, he straightens him out. He's playing much more responsible defensively. He's using that antagonizing, annoying quality to the benefit of the Leafs. And last night again was an example of that. The main factor here is with Austin Matthews probably going to make over $12 million a year, with John Tavares making $11 million a year. You got a number 3 center who on most teams will be a number 2 making $4.5 million. He's not going anywhere. So, I mean, I think he's an essential part of this team for more than one reason. And I think the biggest reason is there's very little pushback on this team, and Kadri represents most of it. So I think that before the trade deadline, the Leafs need to go out and maybe get another 1 or 2 players who can provide that pushback, because in a scenario against a Tampa Bay or a Boston or a Pittsburgh or Washington in the playoffs, those teams have grit and a little snarl, and I don't know if the Leafs do. And Kadri is the only one that does, and we saw last year when he got suspended for 3 games, it was tough to make up for that.
If you don't think the Leafs need a little bit of grit and snarl to get to the promised land, and that is to win the Stanley Cup, we're not here just to praise and laud and worship your favorite players with great hair and great metrics. The team wants to win the cup. Most fans want to win the cup, and that's what it's about. If you want to win the cup, the grit and the snarl is required come springtime.